Now we are going to start the civics unit, that is democracy in the contemporary world. This is the first unit which we are going to start in class 9. So the class 9 actually deals with the practical examples and clearly explains what is the term meaning of the word democracy and how is practically applicable to that. Is in the present day world the democracy practically followed, to how far it is followed. This all will be discussed in this unit. Let us see two examples under the heading of two tales of democracy. The two tales of democracy. Let us fix with the first one, the country called Chile. Chile is a small country which is located along the western coast of South America. This country had its presidential elections in 1970. Salvador Allende has participated with the party name called Socialist Party of Chile in the presidential elections which were conducted in 1970 and was victorious in this. After he became victorious in the presidential elections in 1970, he formed the government and he started to reframe the policies and he brought certain reforms in the administration. So the main important reforms what he brought are: first, he brought free milk and education for the children. Second major reform what he brought was providing land to the landless poor farmers. The third major one what he brought was the natural resources which are under the control of the foreign companies. He started to oppose this one. The major reforms which he brought in 1970 after he was victorious in the presidential elections gained him a lot of charisma in the entire country, as he provided education and free milk to the children, as well as providing land to the landless poor farmers, and also holding the control of the natural resources and not allowing any of the foreign companies to exploit the natural resources of Chile without getting any benefit to the country. So these policies are actually true benefit policies to the people of Chile, especially to the poor people, especially to the children, and especially for the country's progress and development, which he targeted a larger community of people, especially the people those who are suffering with pain. But in practicality, when we talk about democracy, we have most of the population coming under poor people, but still the few rich people are always dominating. The few rich landlords who are present in Chile were angry with the reforms which were brought by Salvador Allende. Why are they angry? What was their problem? They are angry because he is not allowing any of the foreign national companies to come and do business, which is really hurting their business. And the second point, he is grabbing the lands of the rich and distributing them to the poor, which is really cannot be acceptable to them. And he also reduced the authority of the church, and the lands of the church were confiscated. This all brought a clear variation and triggered the anger towards Allende. So what happened then? So after Allende promised and started to take the reforms which triggered the anger of the rich landlords and the church authorities, which led to a military coup in 1973. The date was 11th September 1973. The day, as usually, the defense minister arrived to his office. The then present officers have arrested the defense minister. The military approached the president. The military is very angry with the president's rule, so they approached the president and requested him to resign, as he gave a deaf note to that one. he did not respond positively. In return, he went and gave a message on air saying that he is going to give a sacrifice, and he told already that one day or the other day definitely we will get democracy back. So in the first words what we have read of the lesson beginning, that is what he talked about the sacrifice, is that's what he meant here when he told that he is going to be killed by the military. He knew that one. So when he refused to give his resignation, the military surrounded the president's house and started to bombard it. After bombing this one, the president was killed in that attack. With this, the great legendary ruler Salvador Allende came to an end. He was not met with an accident. He was not met with a natural death. He was killed with a conspiracy. Now let us move on to understand who was the military general who came to power after him. He is none other than the General Augusto Pinochet. General Augusto Pinochet was backed, supported by the US forces. That's how he is able to manage and finish off the story of Salvador Allende. And after he came to power, he continued to be in power as a president. Though he is a military officer, he took over the presidentship for the next 17 years because he is backed by United States. And then the Pinochet's rule was considered as a black spot in the ruling of Chile. Why? Because he tortured many people. He killed many people. He also pressurized people to come and leave the idea of restoration of democracy. He is dead against the ideology of democracy. He do not want the democracy to come back in Chile. So he pressurized the people, even the higher-most officials of Air Force, like for example, Alberto Bachelet. When he refused to join his group, his wife and his daughter were imprisoned and tortured. He used to torture people, he used to kill people. They killed nearly 3,000 people who are not supporting against democracy, who want to restore democracy, were targeted and tortured. Finally, we don't know how many went on missing, where there was no message about them. So this was the special rule of Augusto Pinochet. Finally, Augusto Pinochet's rule came to an end in 1988 when he conducted a referendum. He was in the opinion that people would say yes for his rule, but people who have seen Allende's rule, who have experienced the real leader's vision towards his countrymen, so they has clearly given a mandate. The people of Chile directly refused and gave the mandate no to Pinochet, with which the democracy has been restored. As I mentioned earlier, Alberto Bachelet, the Air Force commander who refused to join the group of the Pinochet, and his wife and the daughter has been imprisoned and tortured. Later, the daughter of Alberto Bachelet comes in to the picture. What did she do?